My name is Frye. I am a survey manager in the heavy civil industry. I work for James Edward Construction Company, better known as JECS. I would say that the primary responsibility of my construction surveyors, well, I'd have to put safety first because there's a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of traffic, there's a lot of ways to get hurt. So we stress safety a lot because there have been casualties, and there are track records of people being injured, losing limbs, killed, people not going home to their families. And these are things that we have to talk about because if we don't talk about them, then they won't be on the forefront of our mind. And when you're doing highway, especially highway construction, and when you're in cities where there's a lot of pedestrians, a lot of moving parts. So not only do you have to look out for the everyday people, which would be something you think about safety when you cross the street, or say you're going to a stadium event and you have cross guards, and there's always safety, right? But we had another element to it. So we're tearing up a bunch of stuff in heavy civil. Like we're ripping out concrete, we're ripping out rebar, we're going deep underground where there's gas lines, there's high pressure water lines. There's so much to look at. So the number one protocol would be to make sure that you have a plan before you go out. So what we do a lot of times is we'll do a JSA, or it'll be some sort of or a STAR card. So these are just acronyms for basically just having a safety sheet to follow and have a checklist of things to look out for. So may it be, hey, does everyone have their PPE today? Check. Hard hats, goggles, vests. These are things that you need. What are we trying to accomplish today? So have a plan, know what your job is. What are some unforeseen things that could happen? So this is just like hypotheticals, just to be prepared. So if I'm going down in a hole and I have to survey, say, a gas line or take an as-built shot on a gas line, and I'm having to go over 4 to 6 feet down in there, I have to know, hey, we have to let the foreman working in this area know that we're down here, so he doesn't have equipment running by the sides. We have to make sure that that we have cones in place, that we have barriers in place. We have to put signs up, possibly to say survey ahead. So there's a lot of different moving parts, and there's a lot of different ways to tackle safety issues. But going in, I think the best thing to do is just to have a plan, know your work, and that's the number one thing. As far as the job, the primary responsibility is just to ensure quality control. So, and that's essentially what we are. We're quality control. We make sure that we produce a quality product. So whether that be showing them location, like a horizontal location, or may it be vertical, which we use the term grade a lot. So make sure everything's to grade, and making sure everything's in the right place. And if there's a conflict, to identify that conflict, and then be able to say, take as-built shots so we can process that data in the office. So construction survey does differ from other types of surveying work. Now, I would like to say that my experience in other types of survey, like land surveying and say residential surveying, it isn't really that strong. I do have a good idea of what goes on and how things operate. A lot of the math is, I guess I would like to talk about a lot of the similarities, right? So we use a lot of the same equipment. So we're talking total stations, robotic total stations, whether it be a auto level, a Denny level, theodolites. It goes on and on, right? There's an endless amount of instruments, and there's, of course, more the traditional where you can use the auto level and linker rods and Philly rods, and so we use the same equipment. But with surveying in my industry, we are dependent upon what's given to us by a previous survey that was already done. So going into a project, we'll get a plan set, and that plan set will already have a survey done for it. And it's usually data that was collected by a surveying company which is under a registered surveyor, because a lot of these companies, the engineering firms, they have to get these surveys before they can start engineering the project and actually drawing up everything. So they need to know elevations, locations, everything that we do. They'll provide the engineering firm with this information, and then they produce a plan set. Now, my role is I'm the contractor, so I build what's the plan. So if things aren't to plan, to build, then that's when we have a problem. If, say, control was done, if there was some sort of mistake done in a level loop by the previous surveyors, and I have to identify that problem, I say, hey, we're off by 3 or 4 inches in our survey. We may need to correct this, because what we're essentially like tying into, because that's what we do a lot of times in heavy civils, we have to tie into existing, whether that be natural ground or concrete, whatever the case may be. And if we have an elevation difference of a foot, let's say, then that could be a really big problem, and it has to be brought up to the owners who are paying to have the project done, and essentially to the engineering firm and to the surveyors. So there are a lot of challenges in constructing a heavy civil project, especially in the city streets or in county roads. It could be endless, the amount of problems that you'll encounter in our industry. I think the first thing you'll start encountering with problems is boundary lines and right-of-ways, right? As a surveyor, you're going to encounter these problems when you go out there initially. So you'll see right-of-way, and you'll be given your, say, your TSC7 or controller, any type of controller that you may use, and you're given a right-of-way line to follow and possibly stake out. And you'll notice on some of these properties, especially in more rural areas, you'll be going on someone's property line, and they may have built that fence out 10 feet just to claim more land. Well, that land may be owned by the state, right? And so that's when it can get a little kind of, I don't know, should I be on this guy's property? He has dogs, whatever the case may be. So that's one of the problems that you may run into in my industry early on. Later on, one issue that I run into quite often, and y'all in Corpus Christi probably have experienced too, like this, is like, where is my utilities? Where are they underground, or where are they on the surface? Where do they go? Can I dig here? And you do see a lot of times call the 811 number before you dig, right? That is a necessary thing to do. So before we even put a bucket in the ground, we call that number to locate all of the underground utilities. That can be done by a survey profession as well. So utilities are a big one. A lot of times utilities aren't where the plans say that they are from previous as-builts that were given to us and digitized in CAD programs and put on plan sheets. So that tends to be a big problem that we run into early on.